Oh, it worked. Ta-da! Alright guys, what's up? I'm Bradu. I'm on day 70 of 100 days of sketch cards, and I'm gonna draw a sketch card for you today. Maybe I'll show you stuff before I get to drawing, because what I always do is I record these videos and then I go to edit it to turn it into a time lapse. And I've got all these parts where I'm like throwing pictures into the screen and things like that. A couple things I did so far today. Well, actually I did most of this. Kobe Bryant artist proof leaf on an artcast that I didn't end up posting the other day for a couple different reasons. But this afternoon I spent most of my time doing another medical drawing, which, let me show you the one I did if I can find it. It's a little bit different. I haven't shown them these yet, so I hope this goes over well. Might be almost too big for the screen. Just about perfect. There's a brain for you. Thought it turned out kind of neat with the bright colors, but I don't know if it'll... We'll see. I don't know if it'll be better for them to have them black and white. He initially, when we came up, when we were discussing how to make that project work and everything, he had said he wanted mostly color, and then he said, actually black and white's probably better because he can then color things the way he wants to on Photoshop or whatever, if they're like, because they're going to be like diagrams in a college course book or whatever. So I was like, okay, cool. So I've been doing most of them grayscale, but that one had like a higher contrast, and so I thought it might be neat to do it a little different. And it also was very similar to one of the ones I had already done in gray, so hopefully it's not a lost cause if the color is counterproductive to what they need. But it's kind of one of those learn as I go type projects too. For those of you that have not heard me talk about this before on any of my art casts, another one of my jobs, art-related jobs besides sketch cards, is I just started doing these medical illustrations. So I've got a whole horde of them to do, and I'm on the first batch, and I'm doing it like chapter by chapter. So I'm on chapter 1, and then after these are done, within the next month, he'll send me the next chapter. And we'll just keep rolling like that. Anyway, I better get to drawing. It's been all about baseball lately for me. I've had Gypsy Queen comes out next week. Museum Collection just came out yesterday. Both baseball sets, and this is the only set I am currently working on actively. It's called Prospect Rush, and they focus on prospects, obviously. And here goes. This is Adrian Gonzales. I'm not a huge baseball fan, not that I dislike it. I just haven't followed it in years and years. So, actually I had to look up who this guy is. Sadly. Oh, that is sad, huh? I probably shouldn't even say stuff like that. So boy, there's been a lot going on in my life, artwork related and otherwise, a lot on my mind, and it's like I kind of keep sitting down to do these art casts and having one issue or another getting in the way. Let's see. Should go a little. Yeah, that's all right. Like the other day, I did a full art cast, and then I ended up not posting it. I don't know, I had a long lull where I wasn't talking as much because I was not done drawing, but I was done talking. I think I mentioned that yesterday on my little update video. So, I don't know, I've been having a hard time getting the videos out. And I also had mentioned that I was kind of having a little bit of a dilemma about, how important are these? I don't have a big group of followers who are, waiting every day for my new video or anything like that. So is it important to get them out there every day? And I've come to the conclusion that it is. Even if it's not important for now, even if it's not important for my viewership, it's important for me, and it's potentially important for a future viewership, because I may start to get more followers who at some point want to go back and watch and follow the progress, in order or whatever. And it's not going to make a lot of sense if I have all these gaps or missing days and things like that. Boy, this is almost irrelevant now because I already talked about it on the artcast that I did the other day that I did not upload. But I had a really interesting, I ran into this program sort of accidentally, and it was really hit the nail on the head for me. I went to my mom's on my lunch break, and I usually just watch an episode of Wheel of Fortune. I like game shows. Wheel of Fortune's a good one. Family Feud, even better. It's really funny. Have you guys ever heard of Stupid Game Show Answers? SGSA. Look that one up if you haven't, and if you also want to waste like 2 hours of time laughing. It's a bunch of clips of hilarious things from video or from game shows, video games. Tons of Family Feud, tons of, I don't know. My favorite one of all time was the turkey guy, and it was on Family Feud, but it wasn't the American version, so I don't know if they have a different name for it. I don't know what country it was in or whatever, but this guy, he's in the final thing. I hope I haven't told this story before on camera because I totally could see that I might. So this guy's at the end thing where you have to answer fast money, 5 questions really quick. And I got to think about this for a second. And the question is, name something you take with you on a picnic. And he says, turkey! Which doesn't make a heck of a lot of sense, but whatever. And then they say, when you go shopping at the grocery store, what's the first thing you put in your shopping cart? And he says, well, turkey. Okay, still doesn't make a lot of sense. And then the next question is, name a food that you stuff. And the guy's like, turkey. Oh my God, what are the chances that the next question, he answers it, I don't have to explain it. Hopefully you guys get why that's hilarious. I just always cracked up at that one. Ooh, that's dark. I don't like it. It's too dark. I'll go one darker. Anyway, game shows. Yeah, so I usually go home and put on an episode of Wheel of Fortune because my mom has that set to record every day. And within my lunch break, I can watch an episode real quick. You don't need to know this whole part. But the point I'm getting at is I turned on the TV, and I went to go find Wheel of Fortune in the list, and there was just this guy talking. It was like a morning talk show type thing. Not morning, because it was like 11 or something. And this guy was talking about social media and how to network. And I was like, wait a minute, this is pretty darn relevant to my interests right now. So I stopped and listened for a bit, and it was a real short little interview. And I just thought the guy was spot on with everything he said. I really wish, in hindsight, that I would have recorded that little segment. Because you know how if you have a DVR, you can backtrack and record something as long as you don't change the channel. So anyway, I should have just hit record and had that to keep so I could refer to it. Because now I'm not even going to remember what the guy said. But I just felt like he nailed a couple things. One of the things he said that I do remember is the host of the show, guy, whatever. He said, well, not the host, but the a guy being interviewed said, you want to, whatever your brand is, whatever you're doing, he kept using food and recipes. If you're creating recipes, you want to get on Facebook and different social media sites and get into those groups where other people are sharing recipes and all that stuff, and and start following the other people who are sharing recipes. And this is what I was trying to say. And so then the host of the show guy is like, oh, yeah, because, you want to size up the competition, right? And the guy's like, well, no, not really. Yeah, see what you're up against? No? He was like, no, it really, it's not so much like that a lot of the time. It's not that you're in direct competition. It's almost like these are the people that can help you and support you and you can learn from. And the people who are following them are going to be the type of people that you want following you. So if somebody's posting I'm just going to say art because that's what it is for me, right? I don't need to pretend. And ironically, he was art too, and so I don't know why he was using. It came out in the interview that he was an artist. I don't remember his name. Ironically, he should have. If anything, he should have made sure that everybody left that interview knowing his name and how to reach his social media sites, and I do not. So I need a drink real quick there. Anyway, he said no, like, I'll use artists, like I said, if another artist posts something cool, and I post a comment, giving him feedback or props or whatever, every time I do something like that, A, they're more likely to do that back for me, or sharing artwork or sharing posts by other artists. B, their followers are going to see me posting, maybe see my little avatar picture or whatever, and all that thing, and all that stuff, and so it just kind of perpetuates a situation where you're supporting each other as much or more than being in competition. And even before when he said that, I was like, oh yeah, that's so true. But I had pretty much figured that out prior to hearing him talk about it. I mean, that's something I've been doing for a long time. And in fact, when the host of the show was like, yeah, to get a leg up on the competition, I immediately was like, no, not really how it works. But it is a little bit contrary to what you would expect, I guess. One would think that you don't want to support other artists or people doing the same thing or whatever it is, or the competition, and the fact is it really works out well. So that was one of the points that he made that really kind of hit home, and I was like, yeah. But another point he made, which directly hit on something I have been struggling with or thinking about, is I kept going back to that. Is this really worth it to keep doing a daily video? Is it important? Is it necessarily a bad thing if I miss a day of shooting a video or updating or whatever? And I was starting to get a little bit lax on it just because I think there's a couple reasons. I think every artist or every person needs a day off once in a while. And I have hit that a couple times where I just needed to not have to worry about that for a day or for a period of time. So I think that was part of it and played at least some role. What was the other part? Man, so easy to lose your train of thought when you're trying to draw and talk. Sorry. Wow. I guess I need another sip of water because I completely lost it. Okay. Oh, you need a day off once in a while. But the thing he said was like, your people that are going to be following you, they're going to be looking at your Facebook every day or whatever, they're going to want something that's reliable, something, especially when you get followers, they want something that they can count on to be there each day when they go looking. And given that I do have a lot of people following my art on Facebook, but not on YouTube. The only videos I've had a lot of hits on are the ones that I pushed on a website or something like that. So I guess that helps me to realize that the answer is yes, I should keep doing this. If I'm going to do daily videos, I should keep plugging out daily videos so that I can be reliable like that. So that if somebody does come along and start watching, they don't, get a few videos in and then hear me trail off and be like, well, I haven't posted a video in a while, I'm not doing so well, or this, you know what I mean? Like, getting a little bit off topic myself, I want them to be able to follow along and keep up with what I'm doing. And I do want to be accountable, and like they used an example of something like a newspaper or something. You want a newspaper that's going to get you the news every single day. I'm not getting news every single day, but I was starting to feel sometimes like, man, is this too much? Am I shoving my artwork down people's throats too much? And maybe so, but I think the answer is you have to do that, and people will understand. And the people that don't understand, well, they're not really going to be that interested anyway. So it's not going to be a big loss if I have somebody who doesn't want to see my artwork updates quit following me on Facebook or whatever. And I'm sure that's happened. I haven't had any complaints or anything. I think it's just something I'm kind of self-conscious about, maybe. Like, when I do a drawing, should I post it to Facebook? Should I post it to my personal page and my art page? Should I post it on an MMA forum every time I do a new one if it's an MMA related drawing? Should I post it? I go to the blowout trading card forums, and I really am starting to feel like the answer is yes. Post it all those places every time, and build up that consistency, and the rest will follow. And I'm not really saying that I want to get a huge following anyway. I'm not sure that's the goal. I think that's it's good to get more followers. But I do want, I want more sales. I want my art to be getting as much notice as it can or should. And so I think that all goes in together. I don't know. Another thing about social media that I've been thinking about a lot, and this is not something I'm good at, and it's something that I want to get better at in that sense. And that is, let me back up a little bit again. I just signed up for Pinterest like 3 days ago. Maybe a little longer than that now. And I don't think I like it because it just seems like it's all about the like button. I'm getting a bunch of likes even from random people because of hashtagging. You got to figure out like what the right hashtags are. And I've always wondered about hashtags too. Like, what the heck is this stuff? And I'm starting to kind of get it. It's a way people will go in and do a search for given hashtags. So like everything I post, I want to hashtag artwork, drawing, sketch cards, Copic markers. If I'm doing this one, I would hashtag baseball cards, Adrian Gonzales, And I've seen that some people put like you know, a whole buttload of tags on each picture that they post up. And that seems like overwhelming. I'm not sure I can quite get into that. But anyway, what I don't like about Pinterest so far is that it's just about likes. And likes, to me, I don't want to say they seem meaningless, because it sounds like I'm complaining about, you know, people liking my stuff. I mean, sure, I want you to give likes on my stuff, but it's so impersonal, and it's just a number. It gets to where, like, okay, you look at an image and you see that X amount of people have liked this image. And to me, I'd way rather have 0 likes and have anybody who has anything to say about it, say it. Make your comment. Comments are just, to me, so much more valuable and personal. But another thing this guy said, it kind of goes to what I'm talking about right now, is one thing that's important in networking on social media is to, when people respond to your stuff, when they do leave a comment or a like or whatever, be sure you're corresponding with them and, you know, say thanks, or answering the questions they ask, or whatever it is. Correspond. And that's something that I sometimes think I'm not very good at, and it's not on purpose. I feel like if somebody asks a question, I answer it usually, but if it's not a question, I think sometimes I just don't necessarily give a response, and I think I should start to. I'm afraid a little bit that it comes across as if I don't care, or as if I'm a jerk. I hope not. But maybe that's one of the things I'm, like, a little worried about in that regard. I'm not quite sure what's going on with this hat. How dark to go. It's a black hat, you know, but most of these colors on it, or values on it, aren't actually all that dark. So anyway, I think it might be beneficial to me to become a bit more of a like whore myself and start liking other people's stuff more often, because I don't do that all that often. I tend to, if I have something to say, I'll say it, but if all I have to say is, oh, this is neat, I like it, it's no different than anything else I've said before about your other work or whatever. I might not say anything. And that's not that cool. I haven't looked up at the screen once. I hope it's been pretty clear, at least for you guys to watch. So anyway, this Prospect Rush set, pretty cool. Just doing a few cards for it. And they are due pretty soon, end of the month. But after this one, I only have one more to do, and then I've got to do, see this little spot here? There's a little circle. I'm creating a little, I almost said banner, but that's not quite the right word. I thought about doing a banner. So I'm actually going to write something in there. So I need to do all that on all of them. I haven't started that part yet. But other than that, I just have one more to do. Yeah. Let me think if I have anything else to cover with social media before I move on from that. I had been meaning to get on Pinterest for a long time, but so far I really haven't done it to the fullest. I just have been like testing the waters, so you know, it's all, you guys who are on it already know this, it's all photos, and it's got to be on your phone. So I started by just looking at the photos I already had on my phone, and every, you know, couple times a day for the first few days I was on there, I just posted up a new photo of my artwork that was on there. And like I said, I got a bunch of likes, which is kind of neat, but I just looked for the first time right before I started this artcast. I looked at my followers, and when I joined, I imported my friends list from Facebook. I think that's probably how most people do it. This guy's got some interesting shadows in his face. I'm afraid to go too dark too fast, but I can see that it needs to go darker. So anyway, I just looked at my followers, and I have received one new follower in the 4 days or whatever that I've been on Pinterest that is not from my Facebook list. One. So even though I've got a bunch of likes, nobody's even following me. I'm also just posting a thing up, tagging it with the appropriate tags that I can think of that I think would be good. And that's it. I haven't gone around liking other people's stuff, and that goes back to what I just said. I need to start doing that myself. So I need to go on at some point, if I'm going to try this out as a way to promote my artwork. I need to go on and look up hashtags of similar stuff and start liking other people's photos, and start following other people, and all of that jazz. And until I start doing that, it's probably not going to really take off for me either. But I had been hearing from other artists, Jay Ferguson, who is an amazing I almost said an amazing airhead. His online persona or whatever is like Airheads Customs, I think. Anyway, he's an amazing airbrush artist. Sorry, Jay. Oh, man. That's awesome. He was a big Pinterest guy, but also his art is like off the hook amazing, right? So he's like, oh yeah, Pinterest is easy. All you gotta do is get on there, post up an image, and you'll have 1,000 likes within 10 minutes or whatever. It's like, well, yeah, it's not quite how it works, I don't think, for everybody. He made it sound like a surefire thing. Anyway, so I've been meaning to try Pinterest, and I've also been, talking with other artists, and I was thinking maybe at some point I might have to give DeviantArt another try. I had kind of given up on DeviantArt, but maybe it's worth giving it one more look. And what are the other ones? Etsy. I don't think I'm going to do Etsy. At least it's not a priority for me. I don't think I want to try and put all some of the details like in the hat, like the ventilation holes. Seem kind of silly to do that. This is one of those, I feel like maybe if I wasn't talking and trying to do an art cast, I might be able to bust it out a lot quicker. But I have not gotten better with that, better at feeling more comfortable drawing and talking at the same time. I was hoping that was like a skill that would come to me with practice, and I feel like it's not happening that way. But I do feel a little better. I don't think I've said this on camera, because I think when I did say it, I did not end up keeping that artcast and posting it. But I've noticed other people say the same thing, other artists. Kevin Cross said it. I think Will Terrell said it, which Will I think I did mention on my last, I know I've mentioned Kevin many times. Will I think I mentioned on my last Real Artcast. He's a great guy to follow if you're an artist. Look him up, Will Terrell, Terrell. His artcasts are he's a very motivational guy. So I still want to go darker, I think, on that. Maybe that's part of the problem. That hat's not dark enough. Let's go with the darkest dark. Let's see how that turns out. So let's see, I have a controversial-ish topic to get into. And I don't think I'm going to do it just yet. I might a little bit. Definitely. I will, because it's something on my mind and I'm trying to figure out what the right thing to do is and how to learn from this experience. But in the meantime, I got my Star Wars blanks the other day, yesterday. Signed on to do a Star Wars set. They are not the right ones from the set I'm supposed to do, so I guess I'll find out on Monday what happened there. If they decided to invite me on the other set and not tell me, or if there was a goof somewhere, or what. Because they have 2 sets coming out that they're getting artists for right now, and there was one that they signed me up for, and they sent me the cards for the other one, so oh well. I was kind of excited. I was all excited to open the package, and then I was like, wait, what? And the bad news is, I thought, well, maybe I should just go ahead and do these too, or instead, or whatever, because they're here in front of me. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I have time, because the deadline is like a month sooner than the other set that I did sign up for, so I just don't see how I could swing that. So that's kind of a bummer. But anyway, I got mail from Star Wars. That's cool. In the last couple days, I've just been bombarded with the Topps Museum collection coming out yesterday. That has been the main thing. Like mentioned yesterday, I watched a bunch of online breaks to see what people were getting. Talked to some collectors. That was fun. I got a lot of good, it's kind of hit and miss, I've noticed. Like, I go on to breakers.com and watch while people are opening packs of the cards, and I'm hoping to see somebody get some of my artwork and see how they react. It's kind of a fun thing. And so I'll start talking to the people in the room, and it feels, like I said, it's kind of hit and miss. Every once in a while I get in a room where it's like, they just think it's the coolest thing, that there's an artist, oh my god, we got this card and you drew it? That's awesome. How do you do it? How long does it take? What else did you do? They're asking all these questions. And it seems to kind of snowball. It's like if one person starts doing that, then more people take interest. But there have been other times when I'll say that, I was the artist who drew that card that just came out or whatever, and nobody responds at all. I'm like, oh man. Anyway, that's kind of funny. So yeah, a lot of baseball stuff. I got on Facebook today and I joined a baseball card trading group, and the response I got there was great. I didn't sell anything right away, but they were all asking questions. I got I don't know, there were at least 50 people that liked it, and probably 20 people maybe commented. So that was cool. And I think those are the types of things with social media that I gotta really be doing. I think that's a really good way to connect. Because ultimately I'm trying to sell stuff, but it's not like I just went on there and said, I have stuff to sell. I went on and said, this is the artwork I did for the set that just came out. And then people are like, oh, cool. And then they might say, well, what do you have to sell? And then I'll say what I got, Go look at my eBay or whatever. But I'm finding, and this is nothing new to anyone, that the social media thing can, really start to take over. I feel like I had a pretty productive day, but when I look back, what I really did was spend a hell of a lot of time on social media. And I'm not sure I got that much done with it. I was pretty much promoting or posting my own art or talking about my art most of the time, so it felt productive towards, progressing with my art. But I didn't get I felt like I got a lot of drawing done because I did do that one medical drawing. But when I sat down to do this and realized I had only done the medical drawing and I hadn't done any sketch cards yet today, I couldn't quite believe it because it seemed like I was busy. It seemed like I was busy drawing and I really was busy talking about drawing, which is still what I'm doing. Let's see, what else can I do here? A little bit of jersey work. I think I might kind of stick to the background on this one. Well, no, I'm not going to try and do that. I'm going to do the bat, and then I'll manipulate the background to get the values that I want mostly. Let's go with the light. So, like I said, lots of baseball stuff. I got another baseball customer then, so that's good. As in, well, actually, it's not another customer, but the same customer I just did that Chris Bryant for last week wants another sketch card, so that's good. Getting repeat customers is almost always a nice thing. Is always a nice thing. Alright, let's dig into this one here. So, I had, and for the first time in a lot of years, I have had an unhappy customer. Not unhappy, maybe that's the wrong way to say it, but somebody who, commissioned me to do something and then didn't like what I ended up with. And it wasn't that they didn't like it, that's not the right way to say it, but ultimately it wasn't what they expected. And I want to say, before I get too far into this, because this could come across as a rant, but I want to say that I'm not mad at the customer or anything, and I understand what happened. Well, I sort of understand it. I'm trying to make sense of it and learn from it, I think, is what I'm getting at. But he didn't do anything unreasonable or anything like that, and I don't think I did either. I think it just didn't turn out the way that he had envisioned in his head, and then what do you do? And it really makes me think, as an artist, about how, I think I've mentioned in the past the Fountainhead, and Howard Roark, who is the main character in the book. He's an architect. And basically his theory is it's my way or the highway. The book starts out with him being a real struggling architect because he's just completely unwilling to budge, and somebody tries to hire him for a project, and he's like, okay, well, I'm going to do it this way. And they're like, well, no, we want you to do this. He's like, nope. Well, maybe could you just change a little? Nope. And so that's his thing. He's an all or nothing, my way or the highway thing. And that's not the right way to be, right? But there's maybe something to that. It opened my eyes to that concept that maybe the best thing isn't always to go the opposite way and do whatever somebody says either. You got to find that right amount of compromise, I guess. And that's kind of where I am right now. So here's what happened, more or less. This guy commissioned me to do a sketch card, and he had some fairly specific things he wanted about the background especially. And it's not kind of normally how I would do things, but it wasn't unreasonable. But the more that he talked about it, the more I realized that he was envisioning it a certain way in his head, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to make it look like that. You know, just talking about the colors he wanted to use. And I might as well just say what it is here so that I can explain myself better. It's the drawing I just did of Mayweather and Pacquiao. And he said he wanted the background to be black with gold and silver lights like Vegas. And that sounds kind of neat. But I'm picturing like, so what if I make the background black and then I put gold and silver lights in? It's going to look like space, not like Vegas. I mean, gold and silver lights are white circles with gold and silver around them, right? And that's going to show up and look like stars on a black background. So I put it aside and didn't do it for a long time and tried to think of a way around that. And ultimately I just went ahead and did it. And then he was kind of like, ooh. I could tell he didn't want to say anything because he felt like he was being unreasonable. And he kind of wasn't. It's just, but it didn't turn out looking like Vegas. And it did turn out looking like space. And so I'm not really sure, like, if I went wrong by saying, okay, I'll try to do that, or if I should have said, that's not how it works, like, I'll draw the people you want, but I'm going to do it the way that I want, or the way that I see it working. And I don't see a black background with gold and silver lights working out, right? Does that make sense? Like, I struggled with it a lot because I couldn't see how that was going to turn out looking like Vegas. Or I guess what I should say is I couldn't see how that was going to turn out not looking like space. And it does look like space. And the thing is, I actually kind of like it. I'm not unhappy with the work I did. I'm just bummed that I did something that the customer's not happy with. And so, two things. I don't know what the right solution is, really. I'm still talking with the guy, and we're totally civil. I'm not mad about it, and I hope he's not mad either. I think it's just like, we're kind of like, well, now where do we go from here? Do I do a new one over for him completely? I don't really want to do that because this one, you know, I really had to struggle my way through this one already. Unless, you know, if I were able to sell this one separately to a different customer or something and then start it over like a new commission maybe. I don't know, that's a conversation I need to have with him, but I'm starting to have that conversation. I'm just thinking out loud about what my different options are here and how do I learn from this. And I'm not really sure how. I kind of wish I was on an artcast or an artist hangout thing with the other artists so I could ask their opinion. And I know this is something that comes up for every artist at one point or another. And it has happened for me in the past. It's just been a long time since it's happened. I actually had a guy, it wasn't me that did it, but I had a guy get really nasty with my girlfriend at the time. And I'll go into the details of that one, because that dude was just, he was way out of line. He didn't know what he was talking about, quite frankly. I was posting my MMA artwork, and he saw them. And he's like, oh, your artwork's awesome. I want to pay you to design a logo for me. My company is such and such, and I want a shark. It was like, I want a shark with a surfboard, and he's holding the surfboard, but he's taking a bite out of it. And I was like, okay, that is nothing. That has nothing to do with what the type of drawing I do, right? Like, you're talking about design work. And my girlfriend at the time liked to do that kind of stuff. She wasn't like any professional artist, but she liked to sketch up stuff, and she was way more into that kind of a thing, I guess is what I'm saying. And so I said that to him. I was like, well, that's not at all what I do, and so I can't help you there. But I said, you know, my girlfriend is willing to give it a try. And he said what he wanted, and she drew it up like that. And then he said, no, I don't like that. I wanted it more like this or whatever. And she did the changes again. And I think there was maybe 2 or 3 revisions like that. And then he just went off. And he like said, fuck you and fuck your girlfriend. You guys don't know what the fuck you're doing or what you're talking about. Her artwork is shit. I can't believe you tried to sell me that. I don't know. He just went off, and he was a total dick. You know, and he was the one in the wrong because he's asking a guy who does not photorealism, but who does realistic drawing to design his logo. And I think ultimately what he didn't like is he wanted some menacing-looking shark that was like, you know, badass, and my girlfriend was drawing, you know, this like kind of cartoony cutesy shark. Oh man, what a mess that was. But at least I had the sense in that instance to say, like, that's not what I do. And sorry, I want to help the customer, I want to keep the customer happy, but that one's not going to happen, right? But I'm noticing that coming up more and more, where I get a request that either it's something that I don't think I can do the way that they want it, or at least I'm not sure, or it's something I'm not crazy about doing, or something that I think would work better, maybe in a slightly different way than what they're asking for. Any of those scenarios. And I usually try and be pretty flexible and try and help the customer get what they want. Ultimately, really. But I'm just starting to try and think more about, like, I don't know, is there something I can be doing differently to avoid those situations coming up where I'm not able to do what the customer wants or expects for whatever reason. It's a tricky one. I had another one, actually the only other time I can think of, this wasn't where somebody was, that's a weird mark. This wasn't where somebody was unhappy, but I did end up redrawing one, and it was for one of my best friends, so I guess I shouldn't say I've haven't had this situation come up for years, because that did happen about a year ago. But it was fine. We ultimately worked it all out and whatnot. But anyway, I'm not going to go into details of that one. It's not important at all. I'm just trying to think things through and be like, what do I do if I get a request that isn't what I want or isn't going to work out the way that the customer wants? Or maybe even if it's just something that I'm not sure about and confident about. Is that close to done? Maybe it is. I don't know. Food for thought, and that's what I'm thinking about. I feel like there was other stuff I was going to talk about, and I'm not really sure if I'm forgetting things, as usual. I'll think around a little bit more on this and at least do some highlight stuff. And then I think I'll have to do my usual and do some of the final details offline, because I'm getting all caught up in what I'm talking about and not so much caught up in drawing. Something's still going on with the eyes. I don't have enough dark around there or something. Let's go a little more. This. So I really hope that that by me saying whatever I just said, that it doesn't come across poorly on me. I hope I'm not complaining about the customer, or I hope I'm not coming across as somebody who's, I don't know, I didn't feel like I had done anything wrong with the recent boxing piece. I just think he had a vision in his head of how it was going to look like Vegas around the fighters, in the negative space. And I'm thinking, how am I going to make that work? And it didn't, ultimately. Should I have been able to do it? I don't know. I don't really think so. There was another issue too, actually, with that one, and maybe this is my fault. I'm really not quite sure. And that is, there was a lot of kind of dead space underneath them, because the photo reference only had forehead to chin, so I kind of extended their heads so that it got above the forehead. And I thought about trying to kind of fake in the chest, and I just ultimately thought that would look worse, so I thought it might be better to just kind of wrap the background around underneath them and manipulate that. And that was part of what he didn't like too. It wasn't the lights that he didn't like, or the stars. He never said it looks too much like space, but he did say something kind of you had never done a background with these gold spots, so I didn't think you'd do gold spots. But from my point of view, it felt like he asked specifically for gold spots because he said gold lights, I'm like, well, that's how they're going to come out. And I think he was picturing gold, but not gold lights, and didn't know. Like I said, I think he had a vision in his head that wasn't really going to be accurate. He'd have to draw it. You know what I mean? I don't know. The way that he was seeing that in his head, because I still don't know. And he was saying well, no, I meant maybe shading in gold or something, doing a gold background as opposed to different color. But, from my perspective as the artist, the black background was great because it was real strong highlights on the side of the face. So having a black right there made it a real great contrast. And having gold right there would not have. So, I don't know. I'm overthinking and over-talking that one right now, actually. I just want to try and learn from that experience so that I don't make the same mistakes, or so that I'm, if nothing else, a little more clear from the get-go about what the customer should expect. And in fact, I did that just today. This, I think, was a result of me trying to learn from this experience, but I have another repeat customer who asked for something kind of specific in the background like that. And I said, I will do it, but I want to do it with the disclaimer that that's not how I would do it. I would only do that because you're asking for it that way, and it's not something I think will look great, or that I necessarily can do it the way that you're envisioning it. So, and I think he was like, okay, that makes sense, and you should probably do it the way that you want to. And so I'm wondering if I should become a little more like that. And also just where to draw the line on stuff like that. So if somebody just asks for little things that would make it a little bit different or whatever, I should be able to do that and deal with that. But I don't know. I don't have answers on that. I'm just a little bit confused and stuck with it. And so now, like, I've responded to the guy, but I'm not really sure where to take this conversation either. So I didn't respond right away because I was thinking about how to respond, you know. I did respond to him today, so I'm kind of waiting to hear back from him. But I hope I want to come up with something that he's going to be happy with, and also that I'm going to be happy with, so that I don't feel like I wasted my time on this, you know what I mean? Because like I said, I didn't feel like I had done anything wrong. I felt like I did it the way that I was trying to do it the way that I was asked to do it. And so I'd be happier, I guess I'd be happier with the whole situation if I'm able to resell that piece to somebody else. And thus making it not really a waste of time. If I'm unable to resell it and I have to redo another one, that would feel like a waste of time. And that one I spent a long time on too. Because of that. Because I kept kind of struggling with it and going back and forth. So, I don't know, I feel like I said, I needed this to not be a solo artcast. I needed somebody to give me feedback as I'm talking, because now I'm just like, I'm not actually getting anywhere with my conversation. I'm having a one-way conversation, but I'm not getting anywhere with it. And I'm just kind of like, I'm not sure if I did the right thing, wrong thing. I'm kind of not sure if I should talk about it, because like I said, this is a customer. It's a repeat customer. He could be listening to this. I don't want to say anything that makes it look like he did something wrong either. I really don't think he did. I think it just was a miscommunication somewhere along the way. And maybe that was me not communicating that, look, you're making fairly specific requests, and I'm not sure if it's going to turn out the way that you want it to. I didn't say anything like that. I just said I'll do my best on it. And so maybe that's the lesson here, is I need to be upfront about stuff like that and say, you know, I will try your way, but no promises, you know. So, can't really see that because it's so dark in the background. I'm not sure I want to go that much darker. I guess I'll try one darker just around this area. It's pretty dark, isn't it? And I think, as I'm doing this fitzing around here, I think the moral of the story also might be that sometimes I just don't know what the heck to do with the background. I don't want it to be distracting. I usually try and manipulate the background so that it makes the contrast to the drawing more or less interesting or work. And that doesn't always happen. And yet, oftentimes, when I'm looking at art, my favorite things are the backgrounds. So I want to find interesting ways to do backgrounds. Harvey Brown is probably my favorite artist for background stuff. I don't know, that looks okay. It's a little distracting. I'll have to think it over. The one nice thing, too, about backgrounds, usually you can keep fitzing with it. I mean, like, for instance, worst case scenario here. Well, never mind, I was just about to do something. Worst case scenario, if I decide I'm going to leave this like this for now and wrap this up. But if I were to decide that I don't like this background, I could just take a really dark and go all through here really dark. And it would probably be just fine. I don't think I'm going to do that. Just saying, like, there are usually ways to manipulate it. But I'm going to sign this one and be done for now. Might keep touching it up a little bit, but for the most part, I think that's probably done. I want to learn, if I were to do a time-lapse video, I want to learn how to fade it out. I've noticed the time-lapse videos go, just boom, they're all of a sudden they're over. And it's like, in order to see the final piece, you would have to time it just right and pause it in the last 2 seconds of the video to look at it. Anyway, alright, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed that. I went over by 1 minute. I doubt that was very enjoyable because I was having inner struggles as I talked it out. I feel like I still didn't say what I wanted to say, but I'm not really sure what to do other than take like extensive notes before I do a artcast next time and try and follow my notes like I'm giving a presentation. That would certainly make a lot more sense and be more organized because I just have these wide topics that I'm trying to cover, things that are on my mind, and then the conversation strays from there in any number of directions. Yeah, so that should get me caught up for today. I might have another artcast tomorrow, but I don't think I'll do a big long one like this. If anything, I'll do a shorter one. But I guess what I'm saying is I should be able to draw on camera tomorrow instead of just having a video staring at my face. But who knows? I might go that route too. Alright, I will see you guys then. You'll see me then.